You're watching Experience Comic Culture and Sales. Streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
2, 1.
Everybody, welcome to Minute to Skim It. Here are the Experience. I heard rumors that I might be pixelated.
Very blurry. Of course, my vision is also a little blurry, so I mean
that might be what it is because she looks good on my end.
Oh,
very blurry.
Huh.
But
you look great too, Jay.
Again, so are the comments. So it could be that I was asleep 15 minutes ago. That's fine.
Oh man,
I had to get my afternoon nap in, man.
What's so fun is if you guys can, I don't know if you can hear it, but kind of in the background, if you ever hear some kind of like echoey sounds of kids yelling, it's because just on the other side of this wall in our new space is aqua tots where kids are learning to swim, and some of them aren't as happy about it as others.
Yeah. No, I would be angry too if my parents took me to some place called Aqua Tots. That would. I mean, it just sounds like a place where you go to drown potato-based food products.
In what? In what, Kyle?
Well, aqua is water.
Ooh.
So why are you putting my tater tots in water? That sounds gross.
Pretty bad.
It does.
Hey, Sean.
I forgot to add us on Instagram.
Oh no!
I better do that. Instagram.
Castle's in the house. I don't think this is gonna be my normal spot, but as I still haven't built out my room. I still don't have it.
Yeah, we're also gonna have to. Your new place sounds echoey.
It's very right now. We're still filling it up with stuff.
Yeah. You guys have to get some more of that paper product in there.
Yeah.
Jay,
I wish I could take you all before.
Just stop.
Hey, make two.
All right. Now that we're live on Instagram, let's get started with the book, shall we?
Let's talk about comics. Ooh, oh, I see now why it's being weird. It's running a virus scan for being stupid. Why would it do that now? Okay. Rise of the Power of 10. This is right in line. This is like the big climax for all of Fall of the House of X, which is what we've been reading in just about every X title for quite a while. What you need to know is that there is really no mutant left on Krakoa. Krakoa itself is the only mutant signature that is available. And there is all kinds of chaos going on here. Mariah is now Captain Krakoa. So you see her not on this cover. Oh, you do. She's up at the top there. She's got kind of green and yellow and black on. And remember, Mariah is the beginning of everything for the storyline. Because if you can recall, the very beginning of, I can't remember if House or Power was, I think House of X was the first one, where it's her sitting and talking on a park bench with Prof X and talking about her first 9 lives in which all the universe was reset every time. This kind of like goes full circle when you see people show up that really want to take over the power vacuum as all the mutant kind has been pushed away. And it's going to be a really awesome grand finale. I have a feeling that when they put all of this material together in an omnibus, it's going to be, double omnibus size, and it'll be I think it'll be one of those touchstone storylines that people go back to for a long time and be like, this was great storytelling. So if you still haven't jumped in and you're like, well, this is way too far along, just wait until the big trade comes out. Jump in.
Jay, you read this one.
Yeah, I did. I was taking a dramatic pause.
So you're waiting for me to talk about how I didn't like it, but okay.
No. See, that'd be good because I really did. So I'm going to have to read this one all the way through because I've only read one issue of this and I'm pretty sure it wasn't number 1. So I don't really know what's going on other than the fact that this book gives me nightmares. Now, why would I read this again knowing that's going to give me nightmares? Because to me, any comic that can invoke those kind of feelings out of me, in my opinion, are kind of they're the best kind. Ones that, you know, if I read an adventure comic and I don't feel that sense of danger and excitement, then to me the book isn't doing its job. This book is the type of horror that makes me want to keep the hall light on in the daytime. Okay.
Oh, golly.
Yeah. The imagery, the way that it's told is so unnerving, yet I want to read more. Horror fans should definitely jump on this book because I would love to hear, other than Kyle, what folks think of this one. Unless Kyle did like it, and that's just Kyle's weird way of tricking us like he usually does. Okay.
Hey, Jay, can you tell me a little bit like what other book would be like? Like if you liked this like that, is it like Ice Cream Man, like anthology or?
No, it's so hard to describe it without it being spoilery. Think of it as not exactly Hellraiser set in the 30s and 40s.
Ooh, it's period.
But something you would see kind of in that landscape.
Okay.
It's very hard to explain. It's one of those you really have to look at it to see how messed up and nightmare fuelish the book is.
Mm-hmm.
And I when I say I don't like it, here's what I want to caveat that with, right? There was a period where they took a break for about a month on this book, and I liked it up until the break. I think my dislike comes from that disconnect, and if I had it as a trade, I would dig it because all the other Dark Spaces stuff I've been into. So I think it's a pacing problem that's gotten me out of it.
Okay.
So that's what I'll say. This book is creepy, and it has, Jen, do you remember when Scott Snyder was doing American Vampire?
Yes.
The kind of the horror that he was able to capture that he then took into Batman, especially in like Night of the Monster Men kind of era. It feels similar.
It says, does it take place in an old mining town?
No. The old mining town one is the one that I'm reading called Canary.
Aha.
Yes.
So it's a whole series called Dark Spaces, or is Dark Spaces Hollywood special issues?
Okay, so Dark Spaces is Scott Snyder's X universe if he was Jonathan Hickman. Right? You know how they have the X universe that's all being overseen by Jonathan Hickman and Marvel. Dark Spaces is all being overseen by Scott Snyder at IDW. This one's not actually by Scott. It's by somebody else, and he's just kind of the editor.
So it's Lambert.
Yeah.
Okay, so I read a lot of stuff tied to Fall of X this week, so I apologize if I get anything wrong. So when you read them, if you're like, Miss Jen, this one I think I'm right about because I just read it. This is Wolverine. So there are, as part of the lore of Krakoa, they had figured out how to take mutants and remake them, right? So they could remake their body and then download their last version that they really wanted from Cerebro into their bodies. The problem is that there's a rule about Krakoa where you can't kill humans. That was one of their big rules, right? They got all the bad guys and the good guys together and they lived in harmony, but that was a big thing. And Sabretooth, Creed, broke that rule. So he got put in what we call resurrection timeout. And so he was denied forever being resurrected. So he died, but never came back. But that's not true. He's cheated the system. So he's actually gone to a bunch of different, I'm going to say, Earths and found the versions of him to come with him back to Krakoa, which he's surprised because there's no mutants there. And he's like, well, heck, I can take this place over myself. So this is the beginning of the Sabretooth War. It really is real good Wolverine versus Sabretooth goodies. And you're going to love some of the versions of the Sabretooth that they've made. One of them is a Captain America version, which is fun.
Okay. So Abbott 1979, number 3. I maybe have been reading this too literally for way too long.
Explain.
For the first time, I'm beginning to see maybe what Saladin Ahmed's allegory is in this story. That maybe it's not a straight horror, maybe it is a horror allegory. But I may also be wrong. It may just be a straight horror book. This issue really starts to cast the doubts on what you thought you knew about our main character Elena and her brother and her husband and the antagonist that is the ghost demon sort of thing whose name I can never remember. That it could be drugs. Like it could just be this anthropomorphization of drugs or trauma of some kind. Not necessarily an actual demon or a ghost. So it's a weird... This is the first issue where I felt like maybe I didn't know exactly what I was reading. Which is great because 3 volumes in, 3rd issue of the 3rd volume is a great time to be like, hey, you know the 20 some issues of this book you've read? You're an idiot. I'm actually talking to you about something else. So very excited to keep going on this one. You start to kind of understand Elena's reasons for being the way she is as a person, with some of the childhood stuff that she and her brother went through and how they've come to be in the position she's in. I will also say that minor spoiler, confirmed that the staff she got in issue 2 is her Gandalf staff. So none shall pass. But this is a very cool book. This book leans more into the magic, I think, than some of them have in recent memory. But very overall, just a good continuation on this story. And oh, by the way, if you like giant puppers, this is a good one because giant puppers.
Okay. For a minute there, I thought you said peppers.
Nope, puppers. Bestest boys.
Yes.
Woohoo. All right. I really wanted to read this one because I hadn't remembered seeing that banner at the top of a Star Wars book yet, but maybe this is a storyline that has started before. But this is the Sith and the Skywalker. I think this is the beginning. So in this story, Luke has found both a red Kuiper crystal and a green, and has been carrying them around. The red one, of course, has been corrupted by a Sith pouring in all their hatred and whatever into the crystal and has damaged it. So it's possible to fix a Kuiper crystal that's been messed up this way, but it's really almost unheard of to have happen. And Luke has tried. He's kind of like gone into a trance with the help of some special, I don't want to say humans because I don't know if they are, they're human-esque, that are not even force sensitive, but force aware. So they can, it's kind of like, you know, like in Poker Face where it's a tell that she knows if you're lying. In this case, they know when there's the force around. And so they have been trying to help Luke go into this kind of like trance-like state in which he is supposed to have encounters with the Sith that totally, you know, messed up the crystal to try to fix everything. And it's clear he's done it before, and this book is about him going to try to do it again, and it's not going to work out the way he wants.
So this is that's the first one with that banner. Okay. However, I don't see the issue 43 does not feature that banner. So if you get this book, maybe check and see if there's a list of other books you need to read so that you read it in order.
Yeah, because it feels like this one has to lead directly into another one, or they're just going to have to skip over what, you know, like, oh, Luke disappeared. Where'd you go? I don't know.
Well, my wonder is maybe does it continue like in Darth Vader or something?
Okay.
In another Star Wars book that isn't just the main Star Wars title. So just check for that. I did a quick Google and couldn't find it, but that doesn't mean anything.
Ooh.
I was so excited for this book. I was such a fan of the previous one. And I was kind of sad that Philip Kennedy Johnson wasn't going to be back for this, but I was excited to see what Garth Ennis was going to do with the character. And I understand that Ennis is kind of an unacquired taste to some folks, but I think he's a fantastic writer. This Bond is definitely a more brutal Bond than Philip Kennedy Johnson's was. I mean, we find this out at the very beginning of the book. But he's still smart. He's still charming. The story centers around this. It's basically weaponized water. They call it Stolvata, which translates to steel water. It kind of reminds me of if you ever played the Arkham games, he had like these ice bombs, but on a much bigger scale. Think like full body freezing, Mr. Freeze kind of freezing. Long story short, though, 007 is told, find it and kill whoever took it and all the documents. The end of this book it's kind of gory. It's a little gory. It has a really cool, but it feels like a James Bondish kill. And I loved it. Like I said, it's really good. I think this could actually be the plot of a James Bond movie. So my suggestion to everybody out there is, if you go into this, don't think about, the guy who wrote The Boys and Crossed and things like that. Think more of the guy that wrote A Walk Through Hell or the magnificent Punisher run that he did that I love so much. One of my favorite things he's written. And just go into this with an open mind. It's not exactly going to be like Philip Kennedy Johnson. He does have his own spin on it, but it's really, really good. It is really good. So if you enjoyed that first series that we've talked about between the two shows we had on, you should definitely pick this one up too. So that is my long-winded review of just an awesome book.
Boo.
Boo, you took it. How did that happen? Did you just call his books first or what?
Yeah, Jay picked his books first.
You just got to call him a week in advance, yo.
But I don't know what we're gonna get until Monday night when Dan puts the books on the servers. Because there's a book out from Ahoy this week that your boy really wants to read, but we didn't get Ahoy books this week. Like Acid Chimp versus Business Dog. Tell me that doesn't have Kyle written all over it.
It's totally you. Well, if it helps you, we didn't get our Diamond books either yet, so maybe no one has them.
It's possible.
Be nice to your LCS tomorrow because it is possible because of the holidays they don't have some of their books. Be sweet.
And the fact that currently the weather everywhere is wild.
It's bad. I thought that we were the only place falling apart.
No.
We had hail yesterday, tornadic activity, and today was gusty winds.
It dropped
All right,
30 degrees here in 15 minutes. Go ahead.
Oh, golly. No, thank you. I'll take this blustery 32 or whatever it is. Arctic Blast. That's right. This is the first part of the movie, right? Where everyone's like, oh, this is kind of bad. And then tomorrow we all wake up and we're all like frozen solid. I like those movies. Those are fun. Okay. Ultimate Spider-Man. You guys have been waiting for this one. This is part of Hickman's big universe in which you have the maker has gone and denied all of the superheroes their origin stories. So they're just normal people. So it allows him to control the universe. The problem is that someone has snuck out that actually knows what's happening and is going back through and trying to fix everything. And in this universe, Tony Stark was framed for a giant catastrophe that killed a lot of people that are tied to people you care about, including Spidey here. And it's really kind of cool because he works at the Bugle, but so does Jonah, but he's not the head. And so does one of the Parkers work there, not his wife. So someone older in that world. So imagine a more mature Peter who's never ever had an inkling of, the spider juice. But he has started to feel like something's very wrong in the world. So, and that's a little bit because, hey, something happens in the back end of this book regarding Tony that is really cool. That starts this part of the journey, which is I'm looking forward to. It's all in the actual solicitation they have for this book, so it's not a surprise that you're going to see a much more mature Peter Parker running around as Spider-Man, all these guys trying to figure out how to get the universe back to the way it's really supposed to be. I don't know if they can.
All right. So if Brian Michael Bendis wrote Ocean's 11, this would be the book.
Bendis wrote Ocean's 11. Okay.
What you have is this is the story of the daughter of Danny Ocean and whatever what's her name?
I've had 3 hours of sleep.
Toothy girl from Mystic Pizza. From the Ocean's 11 movies, the girl that he's in love with.
Sandy
that's
Bullock?
dating. Is it Sandra Bullock or is it Julia something?
Oh, Julia Roberts?
Julia Roberts, the toothy girl from Mystic Pizza.
Sorry.
Anyway, so they are a team. She is the brains, he is the super robber, and they have a kid. And then they disappear and they entrust their kid to like the Danny Ocean, or not Danny Ocean, the Brad Pitt character, right? Mm-hmm. From the movie. Turns out that one of their buddies, we'll call him the Bernie Mac character from the movie, is still around and is like in hiding and is sort of an undercover vigilante. When a very rich person tries to out their family, the vigilante comes out of hiding, beats the crap out of him. But as it turns out, there's more to the story. So the daughter and her boyfriend and the Brad Pitt character plus this character have to get the band back together to do one last job to essentially take down, I'm not throwing shade at Rachel Ray, but a Rachel Ray type.
EVOO.
Well, a Kelly Clarkson type, somebody with a big famous talk show and lots of money, and they're a really good person in public, but it turns out that they like employ massive amounts of like child labor overseas. So they have to take them down.
When does Marky Mark show up? Triple B wants to know.
Marky Mark wasn't in those movies, was he?
I don't think he was, but I mean, it's Marky Mark.
Maybe they're talking about the weather. They're all talking about like Eddie's going to get 17 inches of snow. And
Ed, we're supposed to get the same amount here, and we have a funeral on Friday during the bulk of the warning. Anyway, so super fun. Anyway, but yeah, this is a heist meets social justice meets what's the right thing to do situation. If I were fantasy casting this, and I'm just gonna tell you, the guy on the cover would be played by James Caan, circa 2007.
Okay.
Right? He's a little bit older than everybody else, but when he punches you, you still believe that he's hitting you pretty hard. So, very, very fun book. And I will say this, Alex Maleev, you know, BMB is a great writer, but Alex Maleev is what makes this book go. Because the art really is this very specific style that fits with the overall vibe of the show, of the story.
Okay, some more gang war. Did I end up getting to read this one? I think I did. Hold on, I might look at the inside for a second. I read like 29 spider-related books this week. Oh, please. There's a gang war going on. I don't know if you knew this. They're still trying to fight over the same scrap of land. Nope. This is the one I didn't have time for. Oh, no, it is. It is. So this one is Rabble. Rabble shows up and makes all kinds of chaos trouble. This one actually ties in fairly well to the giant size, I believe, this week. And if you like Spider-Man, you are totally got so much to read. And none of them are skippable, honestly, because they're all important. Gang War has got, I think, 3 or 4 parts this week. There's also I feel like it was Luke Cage and one more. So just like keep it on your radar. It's really ramping up. I want to see who ends up owning the city here.
Okay.
Oh. Is this tie into the show? Okay.
I don't know. Honestly, I haven't seen the movie yet. I'm kind of waiting for the other cut, and then I'll form my own opinion on it. But the book, so the art was detailed and colorful in a few places, but the majority of it, I'm not quite sure art-wise what they were going for. The story itself has a very insert sci-fi treacherous fantasy series. And I say that because I'm trying really hard to stop comparing everything to Game of Thrones when I think fantasy and treachery. That's my go-to. I go directly to that. But maybe for this one, maybe I do need to watch the movie. Because it feels like even for a number one, I'm missing a huge chunk of story. maybe this is one of those instances where this might have worked better as a series of novels, or it could just be that this book is leading up to the events of the movie. Like I said, I haven't seen the movie, and it's kind of a shame that if this book is you had had to watch the movie to read it to understand things. Because I saw this and I was really excited to grab it. So if there's anybody out there that is going to pick this up, read it and let me know what you thought, because I'm very curious to know if I'm just missing something when I read this, because I don't know. It feels familiar, but at the same time, it doesn't, if that makes any sense at all. Like it's a very hard book for me to explain. Like I said, maybe it's so closely tied to the movie, maybe that's why I don't get it. But
what's funny, Jay, is that's really the review I have seen the most online about the show itself, is that it feels very referential to very many sci-fi and other things, that they have a hard time liking it for itself.
Yeah.
So. Ooh.
Okay. So Jay Baruchel, the comedian, has been writing this book, and this is the end of the first arc. Or, as he says, this is the end of the beginning. But it could also be the end of the end. Like, I don't know that there's going to be more. If they didn't make any more, you'd be fine. If they made more, you'd also be fine. So what you have are these Romeo and Juliet have escaped from a cult where they're training children to be assassins, I think, or killers of some kind. They're definitely killers. And they all seem to have some sort of power, but you don't know if that power are actually powers, or again, if they're just so well trained that when they stop an entire sword blade with their hand and cut their hands, they don't react. You know what I mean? Like, you just don't know. Except for the girl in the Romeo and Juliet setting. She is like, she's a Saiyan, maybe a Super Saiyan.
Oh,
Put that way, she may have the Kamehameha. But you don't really know. She just has this ability. But anyway, you find out that they've escaped and they found this woman to take them in and help them. And then she introduces them to a guy who had escaped from this cult years previous. And they're all keenly aware that this cult is coming for them. Is going to try and kill them. Can't have escapees from the cult. So this is the end of the A-Team episode where, I love it when a plan comes together and the four of them take out an entire cult. Or so you think. Because legally not Santa Claus beardy guy takes on Romeo from Romeo and Juliet in a classic solo battle. 1v1 without their armies, without their backup. They fight each other. And Romeo wins. But as it turns out, at the end of the book, you see legally not Santa Claus's head perhaps being reanimated by the government and restarted.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah. Which is, I would say, not even the biggest spoiler of this episode, this issue. Like, there are bigger spoilers, but the last page says this is the end of the beginning. So I don't know if there's going to be more. I don't know what the deal is, if they actually live happily ever after. But just know that this is the big momentum battle at the end of the story. So if you've not read all 4 issues of Tear Us Apart, go grab the trade and definitely read them all, because it's maybe one of the best books I've read that has some of this supernatural stuff in it in a long time. So just check that one out. Meanwhile, while the rest of these guys read their next books, I am going to read, because I now have a copy of Acid Chimp versus Business Dog.
Oh, man.
So.
Okay. So this awesome giant-sized Spider-Man has got a couple different tales in it. It's easy to get to the end of the first one and then like not realize that the second one is just as rich as the first one. It deals a lot with Venom there, who is no longer Eddie Brock, showing up and giving Miles a lot of heck. I can't remember the second story arc is, but there is there's big movement in this book. If you're not going to buy anything else Marvel this week, this is really the book that I was like, I read it first of the Marvels and I was like, well, daggum. This one is pretty amazing because my recollection is that part of the second story, Miles finds somebody that is, they pull that person out of the Venom that's coming after them, who's not acting at all like even just the Venom that he knows. And he does not seem to recognize this person. So, and to me, I was really for like half a second thinking it was like, you guys remember his evil brother? That I thought it was him for a second, but they didn't act in that way. So I'm still not 100% certain who that is, but I'm pretty sure you're going to see first appearances in this book. So if you like those, and you're just like reading a big old fat book, which is awesome. It is giant size. See? Grab this book.
Where is toes? It almost looks like he didn't have toes on that foot.
Just like, well, it's not quite formed. He's formed it into something else.
Rob Liefeld drew it.
Oh
man.
Okay. Okay.
The name of Rob, man.
Disney villains, Cruella de Vil. Spoiler. A bulldog narrates the first part of this book.
What?
Now that should be the pitch. That should be the end of the review right there. But I'll keep going. It's fun. You know, they didn't make Cruella an anti-hero, which I appreciate because too often nowadays when movies and stuff are made about villains, they get turned into anti-heroes. You know, we're supposed to root for them. We're supposed to sympathize with them. Nope. I don't sympathize with Cruella de Vil at all. Oh, dogs use the twilight bark to gather and ruin your party? Good. You deserve it. They also don't make her too evil, though, either. So, she's, in this book, to me, she feels like the epitome of fake. She was found out, so now she's trying to backtrack and do all these, you know, give money to animal shelters and stuff like that. She's that person that smiles in your face, but will lose no sleep throwing you under the bus for her own personal gain. And I mean, we all know people like that in our lives, maybe. I think Dynamite is doing a terrific job with these properties. And I also believe a faux Dalmatian fur trade would sell like gangbusters. There's a free idea, Nick. So if you've enjoyed the Disney Dynamite stuff, you should definitely scoop this one up. I thought it was a lot of fun.
I'm pretty sure they make that like really thin flocked stretchy fabric you can make like book covers out of. Me needs.
I wouldn't do that if I were Dynamite. People would report it damaged because it's not combed the right direction. All right. Midlife or how to hero at 50. As we've discovered in this book previous, Our main hero turns 50 and realizes that he is immune to fire. But as we found out in issue 3, he also has the ability to like become fire. So he in issue 3 he almost gets shot and his body turns to superheat and melts the bullet before it can hit him, which is a super effective way to not get shot. But what winds up happening in this issue is at the end of issue 3, this person who tried to shoot him is captured by him and his buddy and tied up. And how do I put this? It takes a sort of adult X-rated turn, not in any kind of actual X-rated way, but like they use things you could buy at an X-rated store to contain this woman because they don't like have handcuffs. So like the handcuffs they have are furry and they don't have an actual like Hannibal Lecter mask. So they get a ball gag and like, you know, things like that. So it's very kind of containment, but sort of Three Stooges style. Anyway, and they're trying to question her. As it turns out, she thinks he is firefolk, which is a type of fae that can control fire.
Okay.
He doesn't think so. And so most of the issue is them kind of arguing and fighting back and forth. But you find out there's an answer to a question that's been around since issue 1 about his niece's mother and his own pregnant wife, and some things like that start to happen where him becoming a family man at 50 is really kind of taking shape. But also there's this thing in the background of, you know, fire. And then in the first issue, they tell you're reminded that his father died in a fire accident as a firefighter. Apparently, the woman that they've captured knows what happened to his father, but like won't tell him unless he agrees to work with her. And he's like, I'm not doing that. And then at the end of the issue, it's just him fighting a fire as the fireman. So I'm very excited to see what happens in issue 4, because this was kind of this almost felt like an issue 2. Like it felt like we've got a little bit of exposition in issue 1. This felt like a more expositional book, but it came a little bit out of order. So I don't know. I'm into it. I'm really liking it, but this issue is maybe a little bit of a slowdown from number 3, and it looks like number 5 will ramp back up.
So, Castle, I have been seeing your questions. I can say that the answer is because Dynamite comes out of Diamond, and a lot of accounts didn't get their Diamond order yet this week. It's possible that is both right, that it's not coming out this week, and or that it's just not at your LCS yet. So, because we got our copy digitally to read, it'll be out this week or next.
I will say this, it is not listed on the website that I use to get covers and look for things for this week. It is listed for next week, but that doesn't actually mean anything.
All right, this is me. The other spider book I read this week, because I love Miguel O'Hara so much. So in this one, Dracula, I believe, has stolen Khonsu's body. I believe that's right. And Miguel comes after him. And it's kind of funny for the whole book. It's really just like a blood feud, right? Real good Dracula being Dracula. But then I don't know how Dracula didn't know or notice that Miguel has like real long incisors, that he, you know, he definitely has got vampirism, but I think it's for electronics. I'm not sure. He's got a really cool power anyway. But yeah, it's kind of like comes to a head. But it's less about Moon Knight. see that there, but he's stolen Khonsu's body and is using it for some crazy reason. So does it have the bit of Punisher logo at the top of, well, I don't know, maybe a little bit. It's possible, John.
I will have to say, I dig this cover, and the fact that it looks like their Dracula kind of has like a lion inspiration in the face, to me at least, I think that looks really cool.
Mm-hmm. This is Me Too, Adventure Man. If you haven't
I read this one too.
Yeah, did you? Go ahead and do this one then. Go ahead. Have a good.
No, you do it because I didn't read Adventure Man Volume 2.
I was going to say that there are a lot of things that I learned in this book that I didn't know from before. I thought I'd read Adventure Man before. So think of this as kind of like cool old-fashioned tale, a la, I don't know, Phantom and that kind of era, in which she is Adventure Man. I know it's confusing if you've never read any, but she's Adventure Man. In the first part of the book, you find that she's upside down. She's been captured, and a main bad guy is putting her through the paces. You also get to meet part of an extended group of women who also have different powers that feel like they're saying that they're kind of like aunties to her. So they've all got stuff that's going on too. So it feels like this is kind of like warming up to this other hint that's in the title, this Ghost Lights, in which there is a spectral threat that is headed their way. There's not a lot of like big, gigantic movement in this issue. It is a lot of good, like if you didn't know anything about the character and you want to learn some good background for her, the main bad guy, and for these other women, it's a perfect place to jump in because this is probably, I think, the third series for Adventure Man that's been out just over time. It's been around for a little while. It's good stuff.
Yeah. So I love Matt Fraction as a writer and as a friend, but he is not the best part of this. The best part of this is Terry and Rachel Dodson. While every Terry and Rachel Dodson cover looks kind of the same, there's always a woman with a kind of a nice butt on every Terry and Rachel Dodson cover.
I didn't notice.
Trust me, I'm not wrong on that one. The inside looks a lot like the cover. It has this very artistic style, this very sort of, I don't even know what you'd call it, but it has their unique style throughout the whole book. Like Jen said, what you find out is that this is less Action Man and more, or less Adventure Man and more Adventure League or Adventure Angels or whatever you want. Like, it's starting to feel like it has a Charlie's Angels vibe to it because there's so many there's many people who could carry the mantle of Adventure Man and all have different abilities and capabilities. So it feels more like a team book this time than it has in the past. But overall, I think the thing that makes this book special, to me at least, is for the first time in the Adventure Man series, it sort of feels like it's starting off with a conducive idea. Whereas like volume 1 was like, it didn't want to tell us what was happening until it had to. This is like, no, you know where you're at right from the start, and where it goes from here will be interesting. So.
Okay, so Unnatural Order was this amazing book that Vault kind of like went all in on. You might have noticed if you went to an LCS that you were offered a copy of this number 1 with the offer of like, if you pay for number 2, you get the number 1 for free, or so. Maybe they just gave it to you or something. So they really, really wanted everyone to read this. So if you don't have a copy of it, go hunt it down. They're out there and you should go get it because this is really cool. If you like good sci-fi, where the premise seems plausible but also very fantastic. You're like, man, if this happened, this would be so preposterous. So it follows this main fellow who is himself some special kind of military forces guy who has shown up at CERN because there's something weird going on. And the something weird going on is this character who's on the front deal has shown up, and really he can like disassemble you into tree parts without saying or looking at you or anything. It just happens, or catch you on fire, or, you know, burn the whole earth down, whatever they want. It feels like they really can do anything, and has in fact remade a world so that all the people in the world don't remember who they once were, except for this one guy. For some reason, all the magic of what the main bad guy can do doesn't see him at all. And everybody else that is part of this new overwritten world can't. It's like they say his magic is invisible, basically. They don't know where he is. So this is a perfect one bad guy versus one good guy, except for the good guy makes some friends in this one. And these are previous people that I think he knows, but they don't remember who they once were. They now seem to be medieval warriors because that's the way they were overwritten. What do you do if you become a god? Find out in this evil guy.
Okay.
I love this cover so much.
I don't have too much to say on this one. It's a bunch of poems in the style of Shel Silverstein's Where the Sidewalk Ends. And it might be connected to another hot image anthology series. Maybe. There's a clue on the cover and the opening. Well, I think the opening kind of gives away what it's probably connected to. But these poems are not ordinary poems. They are creepy. They are messed up. They tell this story, and at one point the story gets really meta. This was just fun. It's fun, and if you get the series that it connects to, allegedly, this is a nice little companion piece. Like, and the poems are actually good too. It's not like filler. The story's actually good. It's just done in different styles of these poems. So I really dug it. Definitely check this one out.
So this is about a person who comes to your neighborhood and makes your lactose intolerance act up, right?
Yes.
You know, maybe with a frozen treat.
Maybe.
All right, we got 2 minutes and 3 books. Let's roll.
Go. Usagi confronts this bad guy. He's being followed by him. There's a big confrontation, and there's a bunch of really beautiful warrior parts, and they might fall through some ice. It's good stuff.
Dear detective, but also like not a detective, he's a reporter, but also he's kind of Charlie Sheen. This book doesn't come out for a couple weeks, so I'll read it again when it comes out on January 24th and give a better review. But let's just put it this way. There are a lot of women in very little clothes hanging around a dude who is also half deer.
Brian K. Lindsay is awesome.
Yes.
And this is some of the most amazing art out there on the planet. It is exactly like the cover. And you're like, man, why hasn't Transformers been in this art style all my life? And it is a pure Transformers story in which you think to yourself, they can't possibly tell another Transformers story in which I could possibly care about either Transformers or humans. And this manages to make you do both. If you have not jumped onto Transformers yet, you should slap yourself a lot and then go try to find the 15th print or whatever of #1, or borrow it from a friend or something and jump in. This is Optimus has to use a power in this issue to save a human, and the rest of the Transformers don't understand him. And he also has to use a weapon that will blow your mind.
Cool. Tune in later this week on the Experience from our review of Acid Chimp versus Business Dog, because this book is bananas, literally. We will see you all next time.
Thank you guys so much. We appreciate you.